Hello and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be working on count number of homogeneous substrings. And you're given a string S and you want to return the number of homogeneous substrings of S, and a string is homogeneous if all the characters in the string are the same. A substring is a contiguous sequence of characters within a string. So in this first example they kind of list out all the homogeneous substrings. So you have A appearing 3 times, A appearing once, and all these things and so on. In the second example, there's only X and Y, and in the third example, there's a bunch of Z's, and they kind of don't really go over what they are. So really what we need to do is we need to figure out, given a string of all the same character, like let's say a string like this, how many homogeneous substrings are in this. And once we can figure that out, then that will basically solve our problem. So let's, I'm basically going to show you how to do this, and this is pretty common. And essentially, given a string, the way to figure out how many substrings there are, we can figure out how many substrings there are that end with each character in the string, right? So we just go through all the characters, figure out how many substrings are there that end with that character, and then the total number is sum of these. So let's just take some string and kind of explain exactly what it means. So let's say we have a string like this. So essentially we're going to say we'll have a string with 5 characters, and we'll say, okay, how many substrings are there that end here? How many substrings are there that end here, 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 here? And a substring that ends with this character, it has to be contiguous, right? So for example, for substrings that end here, this is not a substring that ends here, right? It has to be contiguous. So it's either like this, or this, or this, or so on. So let's just index these, and then we could figure it out. And then we're going to do one at a time, and then we're going to get a pattern here. So to start, how many substrings are there that end with that first character? So the only substring that ends with the first character is just substring 0, right? So it's just this one letter here. So there are 1 substrings here. Now, how many substrings are there that end with that 1A? Well, there is 0, 1, right? There's like this substring here. And then there's also the character itself. So there are 2. Yeah. Okay, how about the substrings that end with this A over here? And remember, it has to be contiguous. So there is this A over here, there is this, and then there's this. So there are 3. And we can list them all, right? So 2, 1, 2, and 0, 1, 2. Finally, or not finally, we have a couple more. So how many substrings are there that end with this character? So there's this, there's this, there's this, and there's this. So there's 4. And you can kind of see the pattern here, right? So basically, for whatever character we're on, that's how many characters there are. So if we're on the 4th characters, there are 4, right? So we have 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 0, 1, 2, 3. So 4, and finally for the last character, how many substrings are there that end with this character? So there's this one, this one, this one, this one, and the whole word. So there are 5. So with character 4, there are 5. So 4, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5. So how many total homogeneous substrings are there? Well, you just add all of them up, right? Because every single substring in here has to end with one of these characters. So the total here is 15. And so given a substring, by the way, there is a shortcut, but let's say given a substring, how many, like if we're actually, instead of this total thing, let's reword our question a little bit. Given a substring and a character in it, how many homogeneous substrings end with that character? Right? So if we're given some string, like this string here, and we're saying, okay, let's take this character, how many are there? Well, it's just the index of that character, right? So if this is the 4th character, or the index plus 1. So the answer here is the index of that character plus 1, right? So like this one, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so there is also a shortcut to do this, and if you want, you could use this. So the shortcut is, given a substring with C characters, the total number, anytime you have a pattern that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, consecutive numbers, the sum of that is, so here it would be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sum of 1 to 5, so we can write this down, the sum of 1 to 5 is n times n minus 1 over 2. But this isn't necessary to solve that problem. So this also does work if you want like another way to do it. So this would be 6 times 5 over 2, which would be 15. But this is just kind of something that I wanted to show you, but this is not going to be needed. But essentially, all we need to do is when we're keeping track of our characters, let's go back to our example. So let's go back to this example here. So ABB, CCC, AA. And let's actually write that down and use our information now. So ABB, CCC, AA. So now that we know, like, depending on which character we're on, how many substrings there are, we can just use that. So we can just keep track of, like, what character we're on, how many characters are there in that string, and then we know right away how many substrings there are that end with that character. And then the total of all the homogeneous substrings is going to be the total of every homogeneous substrings that ends with this, and so on. So we're basically going to be just looping through the characters and keeping track of, is it a new one or do we add it on? So let's kind of walk through how this works. So we're going to need to have a couple variables here. So we'll have a result. We'll have a current character. We'll just make it like none or something to start out. And we'll have a count, and we'll make it 0. And so what's going to happen here, you can also make this probably bigger. There we go. Okay, so what's going to happen here is we're going to go character by character, and we're just going to check, is it the same character or is it a new one? So we're going to start this A, we're going to say, okay, is it the same character that we had or is it a new one? Well, it's a new one, it's not none. Oops. So if it's not, I wonder if I can do this. Okay, apparently I can't. So let me actually move this. There we go. We can just erase. So our new character here will be A, and our count will be 1. And then every time we get a new character, we say, okay, well, we know our string is 1A. So how many substrings are there with 1A? And that's just up here, right? With 1A, there is only 1. With 2 A's, there are 2. With 3 A's, there are 3. With 4 A's, there are 4, and so on, right? So it's whatever the count is going to be how many homogeneous substrings you have. So we're going to update our result to 1. Now we're going to go to B, and we're going to say, is that the same character? No, it's not. It's a new character. What's the count of our current substring? It's just 1, right? Just 1B. And how much do we need to add to the result? Well, we're just going to add the count. So we will add the count. We'll have 2 now. Then we go to this character and we say, okay, it is B again. So now our count is 2. We have 2 B's. And how many substrings are there that end with this character? Well, there are 2 because there are 2 B's, right? Same as here, right? So if we're on like this letter, there are 2. So we would add 2. So basically, we're just adding the count every time, and we're resetting it anytime we're getting to a new letter. And if we have the same letter, then we just add 1 to the count. So here we will get a new character, reset the count, add 1. Here we will add 1 to the count, add 2 here. Then we will add 1 to the count. So we have 3. So how many are there then with this character? There are 3. So 10 total now. Then we have A, new character, so we'll update this to be an A. With a count of 1, add 1, we have 11. And then update this count to be 2, add 2, we have 13. So once you know this like trick, once you know that like given a substring with a bunch of the same character, how many substrings are there that end with that character, it's literally just the length of that substring, right? Because if your substring is 4 characters, then there are 4 substrings that end with that character, right? It can be length 1, length 2, length 3, length 4. So that's how you do it, and then you can literally just keep adding in place, and then you will get a result. So we have 13 here, just like we have, I think we should have 13 here. Yeah, and we could do this like Z 5 times really quick as well, and then we'll be done. So let's try this Z 5 times one. So if we have Z, 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 for our result, we'll have 0. For our character, we'll have none. And for our count, we will have, let's call it count, we will have 0. So if we go through this one, we have a new character, Z, with count 1. So we add 1 to the result here, and then we add 1 here. So we add 2 to the result here, so this is 3. Then we add 1 to the result here, so we add 3 to the result, so 6. Then we add 4, then we add 5, right? So we would add 4, which would be 10, 5, which would be 15. And so we would get 15, because basically we're just adding 1 to the count each time. The count ends up being 5 at the end. And so that's basically how you do it. And once you know this counting trick, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, so let's actually code that up now. So I think this is like closer to an easy problem as long as you know how to count these up. So we can just say like result equals 0, count equals 0, character equals none. Then we can just say for letter in S, if letter does not equal character, count equals 1, else count plus equals 1, and we'll just add the count. Then we finally return the result, and that should be pretty much it. I think I did something wrong here. Let's see. So let's see. I think I definitely did something wrong here, so let's take a look. So for letter in S, if letter does not equal character, this is fine. Oh, right, we forgot to update our letter. So character equals letter. There we go. Okay. Oh, right, there's the other thing I forgot, that they ask you to mod it by 10 to the 9th plus 7. So we will say mod equals 10 to the 9th plus 7. Then we will mod it here. So we'll mod by mod. And there we go. Now we should have, there we go. So we have efficient answer. They're all going to be basically the same here. I would assume like there's only really one solution here. So for the time, it's going to be O of n because we're looping through all of our characters. And for the space, it is O of 1 because we're not storing anything, right? It's a pretty straightforward trick, but it's used in a decent amount of problems. And so that's the thing to recognize, is to figure out how, like, what you need to keep adding. You just need to keep adding to your current string, and you add your current count to the result, and that's how you do it in place. Or you could do that other thing that I was saying, the n times n plus 1 over 2, and what you would do is you would just keep adding to your count, and then every time you get to a new character, you would add that whole thing right away instead of adding one at a time. But yeah, that's going to be all for this one, so hopefully you liked it. And if you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.